The Project. Kuwait. Learn. Live.
Hey guys, welcome to The Project Kuwait. And today we have got the guys from Kuwait Scorpions. We've got Hussein and Aziz. They're talking to us about grassroots rugby in Kuwait and their aspirations to make it to the Olympics with a Kuwait rugby team. So these guys are going to continue on for a little while. We're looking forward to hearing your feedback on it. Obviously, you can follow us at The Project Kuwait. Any feedback at all that you have for the guys, any questions at all that you have for the guys, you can DM us straight through. And also any training and their upcoming competitions and stuff that you can go watch down in Ahmadi.
Ahmadi,
there we go. Down there, then you can see that in the show notes, or you can go straight through to their Instagram.
And we're going to post their schedule for the remainder of the year up on our Instagram page and probably send it out in a newsletter. So definitely go check them out.
For sure.
And without further ado, here's the episode.
Enjoy.
All this and more in today's episode.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to The Project. I love doing intros like that where we're still talking or laughing about something. So today we are joined by the Kuwait Scorpions. This is Liam's wheelhouse, right, buddy?
Yeah, man. Yeah, coming back to the old rugby days. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing. I have absolutely no idea about rugby in Kuwait. So, I've been here long enough. And actually, it's just a couple of my friends used to, I think, play with you guys. But no, it'd be really, really interesting to actually hear a little bit more about what you're doing. And also a little bit about the history of rugby in Kuwait, right? Because, I mean, even coming from the UK, it's not like we kind of hear much about stuff, even sport going on in the Middle East. So, I mean, how long? I think you said just it was like 1946?
Yeah, so Kuwait Scorpions was actually started in 1946. So, obviously, oil, massive in Kuwait. So, the oilfield workers who came over from the UK, they would play with the British military. So the first game was recorded in 1946 between the British oilfield workers and the British military. So this was part of KOC, right? Kuwait Oil Company, which back then, British Petroleum.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's been going on for a long time, but I've got some amazing pictures. Again, I'll have to send them to you later, but there's some of the KOC archives from like the 1950s. It's all these black and white photos and they're like sand pitch. Yeah. They're all playing on the sand and so been around for a long, long time.
As I say, I bet that'd be a massive difference from the green grass of home there.
Nice,
for some of those
green.
So wait, why don't you guys introduce yourselves? We didn't even tell people your names.
My name is Abdelaziz Sadiqi. I am the chairman of the club, and I'm also a member of the KOC Rugby Committee.
And my name's Hussein Al-Hilal. Again, I'm the club manager and also part of the KOC Rugby Committee. And we both play, right? So we do the admin, but we also play. And I also coach at the same time.
I think the admin's probably the harder part, huh?
Right.
Dealing with the headaches.
The most stressful part, definitely.
Yeah. Part of the other things about the history of the club was also part of the founding, let's call them the founding members of even rugby in the Gulf area. Back then, we were kind of the top, I think it was the top 10 clubs that went in and established a league between the Gulf states. Of course, other Gulf areas grew larger within their rugby community. Kuwait stayed basically the same in this situation. So you have other areas, for instance, UAE is the biggest one. They have multiple clubs. They have good funding. They have a league. They host the Dubai Sevens, which is part of the series, Rugby Sevens series. And they're doing it very well over there. And then you have two other entities, Bahrain and Qatar, are also very big rugby entities you have. And then Muscat is Saudi Arabia. Muscat a little bit more. Saudi Arabia, you could call them the least establishment than us.
But they are growing, because they actually have a rugby union in Saudi. So they have multiple teams playing around the country. The biggest issue for them is hosting home games. So typically in our league, we're part of Asia Rugby. So Asia Rugby would be like UEFA you have in soccer, right? So you have FIFA, who's the international organization. Then you'd have UEFA, who have the European side. So we're part of Asia Rugby, which is below World Rugby. So in our conference, it's the Gulf Conference, Asia Gulf. So we have 6 teams, right? You've got teams from everywhere that Aziz just told you. But I think the biggest thing that Saudi have is hosting home games. Whereas the other teams, it's easy, like visas are always a big issue with us, right? So it's not like in the UK where you just get on a bus and go 20 minutes down the road and that's your away game, right? Here, There's the logistics, going back to admin being the biggest problem. Logistics of booking flights, getting visas, getting people to the airport on time, getting people back on time. And so it's a sport that's growing, but it's not without its barriers, right?
So speaking of the growth, comparatively, you said Kuwait, we've had rugby here since, 1946, right? Yeah. So what about the other Gulf countries? I mean, what about Dubai? I mean, I'm assuming Dubai's probably just recent, probably over the last 10, 15 years, maybe
I think
20.
Since the 80s. The 70s to the 80s.
So we were the first.
Right. So we were the first team in the GCC. And again, I think it's because we were exploring oil and gas and we had a lot of foreigners coming in, right? So the British, it's big sport in the UK. They wanted somewhere to play. And as those people started going to other countries in the GCC, they started taking the game with them to all the other places.
Majority of the games that they used to have here was just basically these engineers or KOC, British petroleum workers against the military. Back then, it was mostly the British military that they played against, and this is what was the annual game that they played against each other. We kind of continue that tradition, but we've added also the U.S. military now to it. So on an annual basis, we would be playing against the military, the U.S. military, and then whenever the British, either military or Navy, arrives here, we would play against them. So we would like to, of course, continue this tradition since the beginning of 1946. Until today, we have the same thing that's happening.
That's amazing. I mean, it's kind of like baseball in Kuwait. You know, we've had it. We were pretty much the first in the Gulf. You know, I think in the 1980s, but yet we're the least developed. So I think we all have something in common here, right?
Right.
So, what are the age demographics that play rugby here in Kuwait? Like, what age groups are jumping into it? Are you getting more of the older guys that are coming in? Do you guys focus on trying to get the kids? Because in baseball, one of my big things before I stepped away last year to come into the project was we need kids. We need the youngest kids because that's the future. Those are the kids you want to bring up through the ranks. And baseball in Kuwait, no one really knows this, but in, I think, 2008 and 2009, we were 3 outs away from going to the Little League World Series.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah,
I remember that.
Tad Cruz was coaching that team, I believe. I think it was Tad Cruz. And we were 3 outs away. We were playing Uganda. Uganda, man, they got some ball players over there. They got some big kids. They got some ball players over there. And, they beat Kuwait out, obviously. But we had kids that grew up from T-ball all the way through the ranks together. And it made such a difference when you're playing with these kids for, 18 years or 14 years or whatever. So how is it for you guys?
So maybe Aziz wants to talk a bit about the Kuwait Saracens first.
Yeah, well, at the beginning, there was only one club in Kuwait. That club was Kuwait Scorpions, like we mentioned. Part of the club, it went down to, you could say, 6-year-old all the way to your vets. Now, about 10 years ago, there was a separation that happened. So the Saracens grew from this. Saracens, basically, they take the youth parts. So all of the kids from 6, sometimes even 3-year-olds, all the way up. Of course, the 3-year-olds is just for fun. They have them, but typically the 6-year-olds are their main starting point. And then it goes all the way up to 17, 16-year-old kids. What we do is we take those 17 and 18-year-olds at our club, and then we go all the way up to whoever feels like playing rugby. So we have people that are in their 40s, 50s playing with us, and then everything in the middle between that. Majority of the demographic that we have are in their 20s, I would say.
Yeah, mostly mid-20s to 30s.
Yeah, 30s. We used to have a vets team. The vets team has kind of dwindled down now. Most of the vet players play with the younger teams. But
yeah, so they're coaching the Saracens. A lot of them transitioned into coaching rather than playing. However, in February, we have a vets tournament in Bahrain. So that'll be good. It'll be the first time in a few years that we've put a vets team. So it's good because vets, they're going to be playing, it's a smaller version of the game. So it's 10 aside rather than 15 aside. Okay. And it's 20-minute halves rather than 40-minute halves. So they can relax a bit more.
They
can get a breather in at halftime. But now we're excited for this. Like I say, we have the vets team that we're putting forward as a very strong team. I mean, these are a team that could quite easily go and win this tournament. So They're probably one of the youngest vets teams I've ever seen. So vets is typically 35 and above. So we have quite a few guys at that 35 to 38 years old range.
Yeah.
But they could be going up against guys who are in their 50s or 60s. So it's a bit strange. But now we have, like I say, from demographic perspective, age, all ages, even nationalities. Like people say our clubs like the United Nations, right? Because you've got guys from the UK, from the US, you got a lot of Fijian players, obviously Arabs, we have like Lebanese, Egyptian, Kuwaitis, we have maybe 6 active Kuwaiti players.
Oh, it's amazing.
And so you got guys from New Zealand, Australia, just any country you can think of. So it's cool. It's a really good mix of place. It's a good place for people to come, whether it's just they want to get fit, whether they want to learn how to play rugby, or whether it's just for a lot of the expats, they want something to be involved in rather than just work, sleep. So it's a good, it's a good
I'd like
environment.
to add also to this that not only different age groups, but even different levels. So you have the beginners that are coming in, and you also have the people that were ex-pro players or semi-pro players or college players that have a very, very big experience or levels. So we accommodate for everybody. We want to teach the game and grow it in the country. So we do have that different types of scenarios that are coming in.
Oh, that's amazing. Now, how hard has it been to recruit players?
Recruiting is difficult.
Yeah, well, you got a guy right here that you can recruit. I definitely recruit this guy.
But I know for a fact.
Have you seen how much he can clean?
That's the issue, though, right? I get so every off season, I get maybe 30, 40 emails or direct messages on Instagram or what have you saying, I want to play next year. Please tell me like when is training? How do I join? And so I send all the information, and then I'll message Aziz. Oh, amazing. Got this guy. He used to play in South Africa. Or we got this guy. He used to play in New Zealand or whatever. Comes around to the season. A week goes by. Doesn't show up. A month goes by. None of them show up. And then it's the end of the season and they haven't shown up. So we understand, right, that the majority of people who are interested in rugby are typically expat because they know about the sport. But again, most of them are here to work. So a lot of them, like yourself, they work in gyms, and a gym schedule, it's not going to let you come out to rugby training. You know, we train Mondays and Wednesdays from 7 till 9 in Ahmadi. That's peak training time for a lot of the gym guys. And then getting young Kuwaitis involved is also difficult because by the time you get to 18, most of us, you know, we go off to university in Kuwait, right? And a lot of us, like Aziz and I, we studied abroad. So that's 4 years. Yeah, 4 years or whatever that they're away. So it is tough. And I think what also makes it harder is it's a very transitional state. So a lot of people will come to work for a year, 2 years, and you'll invest a lot of time in developing and training them, getting them involved more in the club, and then a year goes by and they're gone. But we're working on it. Like, we've put a lot more effort into our social media this year. We're trying to put posts out. You know, some of the gyms, I know the girls rugby team, they put some posts out at the Palms. And so I've been getting people contacting me about that. But the other thing, honestly, is the location, right? So Ahmadi, for some people who don't have a car, is quite far away.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah, and taxis aren't cheap.
But dude, it's a beautiful facility. I mean, you have IHOP, Starbucks, Sultan Center. No, I mean, it's a perfect place for a Kuwait.
No, honestly.
I thought you were going to be like, the kitchen's amazing. Like, this thing's really good. It's got IHOP. So why would you not want to go?
Dude, that's how I sold it. That's how I sold it to the Kuwaitis on coming out for like softball. I was like, look, they got IHOP. You know, they have a Starbucks.
You have Starbucks before, IHOP
Starbucks
after.
Yeah, dude.
It's fantastic.
Blaze Pizza also, Canes.
Oh, wait, they opened up Blaze out there? No way. That's amazing.
So if you need someone for your social media,
there you go.
Maybe a dietitian, right, guys? Blaze Pizza.
Blaze Pizza. My son, all right, my son's the pickiest eater in the world. And he took one bite of Blaze last week. And he was like, oh, I love this stuff. Dude, he's 4 years old. He mowed down almost a full pizza, left like one piece. And usually I'm used to like eating half the pizza.
He's like, where's the rest of mine?
I know. I was like, where's the rest of my portion over here? But the facilities are amazing.
KOC actually did a very good job. I don't know if you're familiar with the old pitch that we used to have.
I am. I played softball at the old softball field, so I know what your pitch was like.
So,
it was dirt. It was. Do you guys have the big boulders out there too?
No, because every time we had a game, because again, part of the league, we had to host people here in Kuwait. So whenever we had people coming to Kuwait, we would go and we would comb it. So the day before that, we would go and comb the field to get all the rocks out of it. And then at the same time, we had a guy with an actual comb on the back of his car, and he would go and level out the whole area. And then we had a big water tanker to come and put water on the grounds just to make it more, you could say, softer beach-like situation. But yeah, to go from that to what we have right now, which is the stands are beautiful, the facility, bathrooms for everybody. This is what makes it very nice. And then to bring your family out there it's beautiful because they have, you'll watch the game and all of that. But then, like we mentioned, there's restaurants, there's a Sultan Center over there for people to go before the game or after the game. And on certain days, we have discussions with KOC, and they actually bring in other food trucks and all of that.
Oh, that's amazing.
Over there. So, no, it's a very good setup. And they just opened it 2 years ago.
Right.
And with this opening 2 years ago, what has happened is they're looking to grow it more and more. So they're actually putting pressure on us to bring more and more games.
Are they going to fund you guys for the fitness month that they're doing in March? Someone told me about that. Someone reached out to me and they were like, yeah, we're having a fitness month. We want you to put together a softball league for the month. And I was like, okay, I'll help. But, I've got a lot going on. So, and sorry, just to retract, do you guys have a turf field also?
No.
Because they put turf in for the softball field.
Yeah,
it's a half softball, half baseball field. They totally, I think someone started building it and then they realized, let's, we don't know what a softball field is or a baseball field. So let's just give something in the middle.
A little bit of both.
It's weird. It's weird. It's definitely a weird situation.
The field is an artificial turf field, but back then there was a rugby committee, and the rugby committee ensured that the pitch or the artificial turf is not like these other artificial turf you have here in Kuwait, where after 1 year it becomes like concrete. Yeah. No, they make it in a way where it's still soft enough for tackling, and because it's an artificial turf, you're still going to have those rug burns, let's call them, that you typically get when you tackle somebody. But other than that, the pitch is a beautiful pitch.
Yeah,
very nice.
They put a lot of money into it. They definitely put a lot of money into the facilities. They do have good turf. I can tell you, because when a softball bounces, it will go 20 feet over your head.
Yeah.
Because there's differences in turf. Like, you guys want that, soft kind of bounce, for the knees, whatever. But in baseball and softball, you don't want that bounce. And I think they use the tire moldings. You know how they crush up the old tires?
Yeah.
I think that's what they use.
And they get everywhere.
Yeah,
You spent a long time cleaning up after that.
After the game, yeah. No, but they keep it, these other areas, they don't spend the money with, for instance, irrigating it. Yes, it's artificial turf, but you need that irrigation to keep that, the rubber not to become basically plastic, like hard plastic that cuts you when you...
Not only that, the dust as well.
Yeah.
It's incredible. You don't think about it, but you have to water artificial pitches because of the dust. Like during preseason, the worst thing you can have is to be sprinting behind a guy and just eating dust. It's disgusting. Sure. So, yeah.
So not just that, even when you get tackled, imagine you being tackled and now under the ruck and this dust of everybody stomping and everything, you can't even breathe. Yeah. So, they do a very good job at least 2-3 days before, even the day of. They would water the pitch so we could have at least minimal, you could say, dust getting kicked up back again on us.
I mean, mind you, like when I used to play rugby, like in some of the lower leagues in Hampshire, in the UK, like it wasn't dust, it was water. So like you'd be at the bottom of the ruck and you'd be like almost drowning. And I think we had one game that I think was postponed because there was literally like a head's worth of water sat on the pitch.
Yeah.
So, it was a little bit dangerous, but, I would probably take dust over that.
I don't know. We'll take you up for that one. I don't know.
I'd have to try both, but the water wasn't a nice experience.
Yeah.
But that's the UK though. UK in rainy season, which is all season.
I'll take rain over dust any day of the week.
Yeah.
We had in November when we had all that rain here in Kuwait. It was actually very beautiful. We went out to one of those games. Of course, the roads, we had a couple of shutdowns that we had to do because of the roads, but there was one day where it was actually raining and we were, because it was before the Dubai Sevens. So we all came out there and it was actually so beautiful to go and play out. in the rain, in the cold. It was also cold, and
Perfect.
it was beautiful, beautiful.
It's one of those rare opportunities you get to play in the rain here.
Yeah.
Like I say, as a child, I was playing rugby in the UK, and you'd always have the clever guy sliding in from 2 or 3 meters away.
Yeah.
You try that in Kuwait, you burn all your knees are burnt off.
Yeah.
But during that particular training session, we had a lot of boys just diving in and sliding and enjoying the moisture.
Scottish boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds like a lot of fun. That definitely sounds like. So you were talking about social media earlier. How would you say the level of engagement is in Kuwait in terms of rugby or these authentic, these sports that no one really knows about? Because I know how it is with baseball.
Mm-hmm.
How is it for you guys? Like our engagement level for baseball, long story short, they ran an ad, I think last year in the newspaper, if I'm not mistaken, and I didn't really see any differences in numbers. In fact, I've seen the numbers go down significantly over the years. And I think that's because there are a lot of expats that are leaving or not bringing their families back to Kuwait or bringing their kids into Kuwait. So how is it for you guys in terms of engagement from a social media perspective and from the public perspective?
So I think from social media, you have to look at the different platforms, right? So we have Twitter, we have Instagram, we have Facebook. Now, Kuwait, I would say Instagram and Snapchat are probably king, but we don't have a club Snapchat account because we don't really, I don't know, I don't think it's the appropriate platform.
Doesn't matter anymore. They're bankrupt.
Okay,
now, so.
regardless.
That's good.
But we tried to put focus on doing more on Instagram over this past year because we noticed that more Kuwaitis are using Instagram than Facebook, for example. But our platform where we get the most engagement is Facebook. And again, because the majority of people who know rugby are expats. So they arrive in Kuwait, the first thing they do is like search on Google or search on Facebook, Kuwait Rugby. So most of our contacts and communication is through Facebook, but I'm trying to push it more towards Instagram and that. But if that's what the people want. But yeah, we get a lot of emails as well. So I have a website that's not really as updated. Like we notice that people aren't so interested in websites anymore. Yeah. They want social media, right? Because of that direct communication.
Makes sense.
But yeah, most of the people, when they want to learn, okay, how do I get there? They contact us through Instagram or Facebook. But in comparison to other sports, it's not that big, right? Because we don't run advertisements. We don't run, all of this costs money. And we're running on a very limited budget. Yeah. It's not like the company I work for, they probably spend 1 million or 2 million KD a year on advertising. Us as a bunch of volunteers playing rugby,
there's not much
we're not going to be spending money on advertising, unfortunately.
So what are the trainings and practices like? I mean, what are the trainings and practices like? What are the timings like in case someone listening wants to go out there and find you guys? We already talked about it's in Ahmadi over by KOC. It's the KOC fields. You can't miss it. It's the exit 212. And, you're right there. So what are the training timings? What are the practices like? If someone listening to this just doesn't have any of your contact information, just wants to go to the field.
Yeah, no problem. So we have a female team and a male team. So the females will practice from 5 till 7 on a Monday, and it's in Ahmadi. And then the men will practice from 7 till 9 on the Monday, and the men will also practice 7 till 9 on the Wednesday. Practice, it depends on the time of season, right? So typically preseason will start at the end of July or the first week of August. And preseason is fitness. It's hot, it's humid. You're talking 45 degrees Celsius.
Hey, I'm his agent, by the way. Oh, okay. I'm his agent. Each game you want him to play is going to cost around 150 KD.
There we go.
It's 70-30. You get 30, I take 70.
I was just going to play for free, but
So something we introduced this year, which I thought was really cool, were these GPS tracking devices. So this is something we noticed that we want to really see the impact of training. And is our training emulating the games? Because at the end of the day, the whole point of training is to perform at your peak during the game. So with this, during the preseason, we just put everyone, it's a company called Titan Sensor, amazing piece of kit. You just
Houston, Texas.
Yeah. The guys are from Houston. You wear this vest, it looks a bit like a bra. So it's not the coolest looking thing, right? You've probably seen the soccer players.
Sensor, yeah. Well, these guys got to give us a little sponsorship here if we're mentioning so much. We're giving them a hell of a shout out here.
So we're able to track people's speed. We're able to track the distance that they're traveling, the internal load that's been put on them.
Amazing.
So there's a lot of stuff that we're seeing. So what's nice is you can do the whole periodization. So we're trying to cater our training so that when the weekend comes, we're peaking at that point.
That's freaking phenomenal.
And it's great because you can see
cost.
They're in KD, maybe around 70 KD or something.
That's nothing.
It's not bad.
For a piece of equipment like that.
If you look at what some of these fitness watches are costing.
Basically the same, yeah.
Nah. But there are so many brands, right? I'm not marketing or anything for them, but this is something we introduced. And so typically preseason, mostly fitness, anaerobic fitness, getting that core strength and fitness up for the season. As we get towards September, then the games start coming in thick and fast. So September, we switch to skills. So there'll always be a bit of fitness, but we'll start working on our ball handling skills, tactics, specific set plays, these type of things. So it's very varied. We don't want people to get bored, but again, everything is game specific.
And what kind of training modalities do you do with your guys, like either during preseason or anything? Is it for example like you use CrossFit, or do you use kind of HIIT training, or what can people kind of expect?
So rugby, again, as you know, it's a lot of anaerobic fitness. So I think the HIIT, again, for me, I'm coaching it more like a traditional rugby coach, but we have guys who are personal trainers, right? So every day we'll think, okay, this session, you can run something that's a bit like CrossFit or a bit like HIIT. For us, because we don't have access to gyms for free, right? And I got a lot of the guys, again, the budget's very low. So we don't have a specific gym, whereas some of the other clubs around the Gulf, they have, okay, let's say on a Wednesday, we're in the gym and we're doing pure weights. So for us, it's mostly body weight stuff or fitness. And this is where HIIT is pretty good for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. We want to get like a scrum machine out there. We want to get sleds, but all of this just costs so much.
What's a scrum machine? I know what a scrum is. That's when you all pull around each other and someone gets in the middle. It's like kind of
so a machine would be like just basically like an iron version of the other side. So you'd have like your pack of 8. Yeah,
that's the weirdest thing
with like pads. Like in American football, they have the pads.
Yeah,
so like you're on the floor, you come up, you hit the pad. Yeah, very similar to that.
It's a similar thing, but like you said, so unless you have a very big team where you could bring in the 2 teams together for that train in your scrum, the machine is the best thing to have.
Okay. So it offers like some force to push against.
So you normally just find the fattest people and heaviest people you can and just push against them. That's the cheapest version of it.
Yeah.
Well, there's many types of these machines out there. There are machines that you could put actually on a car. You could put machines on walls. You could put machines on the sleds that we're looking at. But at the end, it gives you the same results that you're looking for. Unfortunately, to get these machines, they're not small machines that you could, put in a box and bring over here. They're big machines that you have to ship over here. And to get them, first of all, there's no place here in Kuwait will sell them. We've been debating about building one ourselves, getting one of these guys, these metal workers, to build one for us. But
you need to worry about safety, though, right?
Safety is a big thing for us.
Honestly, one thing I've learned here in Kuwait, because the league's always done this, they've been doing it for the last 10 years maybe, where they'll have a mound built. Baseball pitchers pitch off of a mound. So they'll have it made out of fiberglass. And usually I'm skeptical. I'm always skeptical when something's built here in Kuwait. But, I mean, they've lasted a season or 2, and some of them lasted 3 seasons. Yeah, the turf will rip up because of the cleats and everything, or, just because of the wear and tear. But overall, I've seen things, they're built, and, some of these guys, they can build it right, and they can build it well.
Oh, 100%.
So it'd definitely be something to look into. I'm going to have a rig built at my house.
Yeah.
I'm building a place right now. So instead of buying a rig, I'm going to try and cut costs and just have one built. I'm just showing it to a guy and just saying, hey, this is the picture. This is what I want. Build it.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's metal work. So as long as you have it taped up and no sharp edges, you'd be all right.
If you need it stress testing, then I'll come and do some gymnastics on it.
Oh, you definitely come.
No, but we've had, we've been in negotiations with the KOC, because if KOC does not get to the point of, there's a budget that they place towards the committees that they have, the different types of committees. And being that we have the rugby committee with them, they have offered to kind of bring equipment in for us. But they're having a little bit of issues with the budgets themselves. But once we get our budget, we'll see exactly if we could bring this device. If not, then they have their own contractors that we could see exactly if we have the dimensions and if we have the numbers for this a scrum machine or any other type of device that we need, we could probably go with them and see. KOC, I know this is kind of like a shout out to them, but they've actually taken very good care of us. If it wasn't for them, a lot of the things that we have right now would not be available for us, from the pitch itself to even the medical staff. We were just talking before we started this thing about medical staff in Kuwait. It's very difficult. And for us to host games or to have any type of game here in Kuwait, you have to have medical staff available because it's a contact sport. And going through the ministry, it's a big cost on us. So KOC offers it for us for free, of course, and could get, 1 or 2 or 3 ambulances available for us. So it's a very good service that they provide.
That's amazing. They've always been good like that. I mean, KOC, they built the fields for the Americans in the 90s so they could play softball. Then they rebuilt them now, and even there are barely any Americans left over at KOC compared to, back in those days. So it's great that you guys have that support. And especially from an organization here in Kuwait that's really not doing it for the money or doing it. There's no charges. There's nothing there. And, it's corporate social responsibility.
This is 100% this thing. You were talking about that they contacted you guys regarding the sports day that they're trying to do. They have actually contacted us, and they wanted us to have some type of small tournament for them. So the whole idea is to have a huge sport day with multiple sports being played at their sporting complex that they have over there. One of them being rugby. They want to have CrossFit. They want to have the hockey. They want to have soccer, of course, to be played over there. So this is what they're trying to do for this day. Kind of reminds me of Renaissance. I don't know if you guys have ever been to Renaissance fairs in the U.S.
Yeah.
It's basically the same kind of idea. They have kind of old sporting events happening, but at the same time, they're trying to bring in even vendors to have food vendors and shops and all of that. So you could watch the games, do the sports, eat, and have fun. That's what they're trying to do.
It always
great atmosphere.
But that's amazing. That's great. The sad thing is the legalities of it take a long time. It's getting the paper signed off by the guy at this level and that level. It just takes forever. In any semi-government industry. So
yeah, and it's frustrating. I think from an outsider's point of view, seeing some of the things that are very quick to go through, and kind of some things that I see as important, kind of sports and just generally that kind of community in general. It seems like these things kind of take quite a lot of time. And it seems like these are the things that actually keep people together and kind of try to get... we talk a lot about combating the Kuwaiti obesity epidemic.
Yeah.
And so if it was playing rugby, it can be fun. It doesn't have to be you don't always have to play collision-based rugby. It could be touch rugby or something like that just to stay fit. And obviously the weather is perfect right now. 2 or 3 months of the year, it's kind of absolutely perfect for something like that. And it just seems like we just these ministries should be doing a little bit more to kind of help everyone do more.
It's tough, dude. We were banned from the Olympics for how many years?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We were ousted from everything, dude. I remember reaching out to the baseball, the baseball federation, and they're like, everything was going good, and they're like, "Oops, wait, you guys are banned, man. We can't let you guys in." So I think there's a huge drop off. I'm assuming in a lot of sports in Kuwait, and I know I've seen it. Kids aren't doing it like before. You don't have kids outside playing sports.
And you obviously see in the sports shops, there's a lot of football boots and stuff like that available. There's obviously people who are still doing it. There's people who are still buying the kit and everything like that. But it doesn't seem we don't. I mean, I even work in the fitness industry, and I don't really see that much of it. And it would just be really nice. I know, obviously, from the importance of sports and grassroots sport in the UK, and how important it is to the community and building friends and building relationships and building kind of I guess the young people's desire to stay in one place and build a community with each other. It kind of seems that's kind of missing a little bit. Although it does seem like it's been growing over the last kind of 12 months, little by little. Be interesting to...
And that's one of the things, we're trying to put initiatives in here now. Like you say, not everybody wants to play collision sports, but they still want to be fit. So some of the initiatives we have is getting people into rugby who normally wouldn't want to play rugby union 15s or what have you, or 7s. So this year we made a flag rugby league. So this started a few months back, and it's going to run all the way into March. And the idea is to play the finals during this KOC fitness thing. Yeah, nice. So we have...
So how many do you need per team?
So in this, it's like a 6-a-side thing. But
I'm looking at Liam over here. I'm going to start recruiting right now.
Get him on a
I'm
team.
just going to be a coach. I just like win it, man. I'll just sit on the bench the whole time.
I would highly advise you not to put me in a non-collision sport.
I'll tell you something. So last year we had a lot of touch rugby tournaments, right? So touch rugby, the idea is not to be aggressive. It's to be a bit of fun. I think people are more aggressive playing the non-collision versions. People are just really angry, right? So there's a lot of cheating that goes on. There's I
can kind of run fast, but I can't slow down very fast. So I don't want to use someone who's not expecting me to use them to slow down.
That's all good. That's all good, dude.
This is what I play the American flag football. They had a tournament here in May or April last year. And that was my biggest issue. I got called so many times and penalized so many times because I would run, and I would hit somebody. Yeah. And it wasn't intentional. It's just you're running and you can't stop. So you hit this old knees. Old knees. Yeah, the old knees you can't.
It's like you can't stop on a dime anymore.
Yeah. And then you're playing on their pitch, which their pitch that they were having is basically concrete. So you can't stop right away on these things. So,
is that still out in Mansouriya?
No, they were playing in Di'iyya, Markaz Shabab Di'iyya. They were playing over there.
So they switched it up a little bit.
It's a soccer field that they have over there. And it's probably multiple years, so it's now been trampled on so many times that it's like a concrete. So you can't go to that complete stop if you needed to. And everybody's crossing each other and all of that, and it happens. You just knock into somebody. Apparently, you can't even go towards that in that game. So you get called out on it. But yeah, this initiative of the rugby flag rugby league that we've done, it's actually been a very good success. We have 6 teams, I think we have, and every
you guys
3
got
weeks
6 teams. That's amazing.
And what's nice is a lot of them
really good numbers for Kuwait,
and most of the teams are non-Kuwait Scorpions rugby players, so it's great because we're getting people from outside of the normal community to play. And it was the same as last year. Last year we had a lot of successful mixed touch rugby tournaments, but unfortunately this year it's been difficult to find a venue that will allow mixed sports. And that's been one of our biggest...
Ahmadi won't allow it?
Ahmadi, they used to allow it. So last year was perfectly fine, but apparently we had a few complaints from passers-by because Ahmadi is a very open area, right? And because of the restaurants and people, some people just weren't happy. So again, you don't want to offend and you don't want to upset.
True.
So
that's very true.
Like I say, KOC have been very kind to us to provide. So
it's kind of like,
we don't want to cause issues for them. So it's something we're looking into because we know the benefit of that, because we do have a women's rugby team and they want to play, but the numbers aren't big enough that we can have a women's only league or a women's only tournament. So
the only times they can actually play here in Kuwait is whenever we host teams. So for instance, the year before that, Doha came and we kind of negotiated with them that as you are coming, bring your girls team with you so they could play here. We've been talking to the girls about negotiating with the other teams that they have in the Gulf to say we could host at least a women's tournament. KOC is allowing us to have only women, only men's games, but it's also difficult, like he says, the visa issues that people face coming into Kuwait. There's also in Kuwait, we have issues with that too. It's more lenient than Saudi, but still we have also issues with certain nationalities that are having very difficulties getting into Kuwait to play these games. So yeah.
So real quick before we're running up on the mark here. So real quick, I had a question for you. What are some of the biggest issues you've had from people trying to lend a helping hand, let's say, that have no idea or have no clue what the sport's about? Because I've seen it in baseball. I've definitely seen it in baseball where you got these guys who have never played a game in their life and they're trying to run an entire league. And I'm assuming you guys in rugby, like it must be a lot more complicated. Your rules are a lot more crazier than baseball. So how has that journey been? Because I know how it's been for baseball. It's been tough. It's been really tough, especially for me being around the game so much of my life and having guys that have never played just, barking out orders or saying we're going to do it like this and they just don't have a clue. So how is it for you guys? Is it the same or?
See, like you say, I think one of the difficult things is, we need referees who are qualified. We need coaches who are qualified. We need this. So most of us are qualified coaches because we've played abroad. We've done the certifications. We're actually running next week. Asia Rugby are coming over to do certification. So we have 16 people who after next Saturday, inshallah, there'll be World Rugby Level 1 certified coaches. So we do bring this type of stuff to try and educate the guys if they do want to coach. Refereeing is a bit more difficult. We've always, since I came in 2011, we've always had local certified referees. However, this year they've all either traveled or moved on from the area. And then in the olden days, the union who organized the league used to provide the referees for free.
Okay.
This year, there's been a lot of politics in the union. I'm talking the GCC
The Gulf
league.
Yeah.
And so now they're requesting the teams to pay upwards of 200 to 300 KD every game to bring a referee in.
Wow.
Which again, for a team on no budget, it's basically my pocket or Aziz's pocket.
And you got no booze in Kuwait, so there's no incentive to come here either. So.
That's a funny thing, right? So
you
when
tell me to go and coach an UMPA game in Dubai, I'm like, all right, sure, man. You tell anyone in Kuwait, hey, go referee a game in Dubai or Bahrain. They're like, yeah, sure, I'll be on the first plane out, man. I'll do it for free.
Like, it's in 2 weeks' time. I'll go today.
I'll pay you.
Actually, most of the refs, they see when the start of the game is. They're in the 5 minutes before the game starts and they leave 5 minutes after. So
not just the refs, also the teams that come here. Yeah. It's a big issue. We don't have very good, let's say, entertainment here in Kuwait unless you have families. But it's one of the difficulties that we face as people coming over here. It used to be they would use the excuse of our pitch, the sand pitch that we had. They never wanted to come and play on it. Now they don't have that excuse because we have this very state-of-the-art pitch. But exactly what he's saying. And there's a lot of politics that are happening. We don't want to kind of discuss the politics of the GCC politics that are happening over here that has affected sports, let's call
Politics suck in general.
Yeah.
They always screw up the sports. Definitely.
Yeah, you could see it.
But I'd say the root cause is cost. Let's break it down a little bit here. So when, like I say, it's not like in the UK where you get on a bus 20 minutes. The cost to fly to some of these countries, the cost of visas, and not only that, it's the flight paths, because then you have to pay for hotels, right? You have to pay for internal travel and all of this. And because we don't receive sponsorship, we don't receive funding. Aziz and I were very fortunate that we work in positions where, if it's 100 KD to travel for the weekend to play rugby, it's not a big deal for us. But for some of the guys on our team, that's their monthly salary.
Yeah.
And so this is one of the most difficult things. So we want to get, like you say, to grow grassroots rugby again, get it into the schools. We don't have it in schools right now. Get the young Kuwaitis playing rugby so that we have that strong recruitment drive later on and we can build our own league inside of Kuwait. Not having to rely on, every weekend I'm paying 100 KD or what have you to go to Bahrain or Dubai or Qatar, wherever, this is the biggest cost. It's always the root cause. It's the cost, unfortunately. And, even when you go to companies to try and get sponsorship, like this year, we almost won the Dubai Sevens. We lost by 2 points in the semi-finals, which is one kick.
Wow. See, if you had this guy on the team.
I would have probably lost by 20.
150 KD a game.
It'd have been done after 5 minutes, mate.
Was it time? It was time.
No, real full tackle.
All right, yeah, dude, 150 KD a game, man.
We have to explain to him what sevens are. Right? He doesn't know.
I'm heavy.
That's all right. I did a walk with this guy the other day. He's got the endurance for it.
Sevens is a different ballgame completely.
And, we won it a couple of years ago, so we have talented players, but like I say, getting the guys able to compete, like we would probably win the league every year, but we win our home games. We travel with a depleted squad. We lose an away game. So this is the biggest difficulty, right?
It's a struggle. We had the same thing with softball a few years ago. I mean, I played softball in Dubai. There was a big tournament that used to go on over there. They stopped it since, but we would recruit all the Americans here in Kuwait, and there was the Kings, which they were winning the Dubai tournament for years, and we were the Sand Devils at the time. And I'm a catcher. I was on the bench because softball. I'm not playing in the field. Yeah, it's just it's a recipe for disaster. It really is. So one year we beat them and we were shooting for sponsorship and we actually got it. We got it because someone was loyal to the game. And it's like, once you find someone like that, hopefully that will take off for you.
But this is the same scenario that we have here. We've had sponsorships in the past, but again, it goes back to, do you have somebody who plays for the team or loves the game so much that he is willing to talk to his company to do something like that. And typically these guys have to be very high up in the company. So we used to have big name sponsors. I don't want to mention because they're not sponsors anymore. But big name companies here in Kuwait, they used to sponsor the rugby. But the only reason why they used to sponsor the rugby was because the COO or the CFO or somebody in that company was ex-rugby player and loves rugby. So they said, okay, we could put a small budget towards this club. But unless you find that, you will not have it here. The only thing you could get are these kind of semi-sponsorships similar to what we have with KOC right now. Those are the sponsorships that we're looking. But even with them, they don't pay for, they focus mostly on Kuwait. So if I bring teams here in Kuwait, if I host people here, they would sponsor anything or they would pay for anything I need here. But for me to go outside of Kuwait, they have issues. Of course, they have to deal with their, critics and all of that about paying money towards a team that's going outside of Kuwait instead of here in Kuwait. So they shy away from these types of things. And understandably so, they do these types of things. But anything in Kuwait, they will sponsor it 100%. If it brings, again, the fun to the community, they would do it. But outside of Kuwait, they will question it left and right. But there's a lot of positives that are coming towards the club itself. Again, the plans that we were talking about, we do want to start with this league and hopefully this league will grow. We don't want to start with, some people, they just want to jump from 0 to 100. We don't want to go towards that. We want to see it that let's grow it within the youth teams. The Saracens, we've had many discussions with them, the youth club. We want to have touch rugby so we could bring people towards the concept of rugby, how to play rugby. Like we've mentioned before, even if people don't know how to play the game, we invite anybody towards our trainings, and we would do specific trainings for them to teach them the game, the laws, the rules of the game. And then hopefully they grow with us. We've had some people actually came in with 0 skills, never played. Actually, I'm one of those people. I've never played. I was an American football person, and I came to Kuwait 2008, and I was looking for contact sports. There was the American football, but they weren't established yet. And I found the rugby. My manager back then was a South African guy, taught me the game, and I played with them, and now I'm chairman of the club.
Amazing.
So it's a fun game. I love it. And this is what we want. We want to grow the people that we believe will be here for a long time, but we still don't tell no to the expats that are here on contracts and all of that. We still say no to, or we don't say no to them, but we still want to recruit the Kuwaitis. We want to recruit these expats that we know that they're going to be here for many, many years to be part of this club.
So the main thing, you want to leverage the experience and the quality of the expats to come and teach the younger generations of the Kuwaitis to grow. And I think one of the biggest or nicest compliments of the club is when some of our friends leave and they go on to other countries and they tell me, Hussein, the best thing about the last 2 years of my life in Kuwait was the rugby. So it's nice to hear that, right? So we're providing them, we're opening their eyes to a new community that they didn't realize was in the country. And at the same time, they're playing a sport they love, and they're traveling to different destinations that they may not have traveled to if they were just here as a teacher or just here as, a worker at a company. So it's positive going forward. We have a lot of interesting stuff coming up, and I just hope that we can continue to grow and get the right exposure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, a good example of that was Jennifer. She's new to Kuwait. She's part of Fawzia Sultan.
She's the one who got the interview. She was like, "Oh, you should interview the Kuwait Scorpions." I was like, definitely, dude. Liam would love this. I'm like, the British guy would love it.
Yeah, but she was new to Kuwait. She never heard of the Dubai Sevens, and we had discussions with her about it. And Fawzia Sultan were gracious enough to allow her to come in and represent Fawzia Sultan and be our physio over there. It was actually one of the greatest feelings to have her over there, because we would typically, there's multiple games that you have, with sevens. And typically after the first game, second game, that's it, you're broken down. You don't feel like playing. But having her over there, everybody was ready and fit for the next game, the next game, the next game.
I think it's the first time I've been to the sevens, and the whole squad that started was fit by the end of it. Like you say, typically the first day you'll play 3 or 4 games, and then you'll start with a squad of 12, and by the second day, maybe you've got a squad of 9. By the final day, maybe you don't have enough people. So amazing work, like having a physio go with you and treat the guys prior to and after the game, proper stretching, all the needling and all the different proper physio techniques were just, massive for recovery, right? Because normally we just chuck them in an ice bath and be like, right, guys, strap yourselves up. Don't fall apart. You'll be good. But no, it's day and night, the difference that it made having a proper physio with us. So.
That's really nice. So wrapping up, I guess we could say you guys' project is to just, because we're the Project Kuwait. So we always ask everybody, what's your project? And I think it's safe to say your project is building the game of rugby in Kuwait.
Definitely.
I want Kuwait team at the Olympics because rugby sevens is now an Olympic sport.
Really?
And
I always wanted to be in the Olympics.
I would love nothing more.
I know, man. Always enjoy it.
Baby steps out. First, we want to get it in the schools. Once we have it in the schools, we want to have more local clubs, and we want to have different types, not just contact, but also have competitive touch, competitive flag, 15s rugby, 7s rugby, but competing. The Olympics, for me, would be the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
You see, one of the things that we're looking at, like we said, these non-contact tournaments to start with. And then the other point, when we go into the contact part, we would me and Hussein love rugby union, original one, the 15s. But technically speaking, looking at 7s would be the best thing to start with in Kuwait. A 7s team, you just need 12 up to 15 people. That's it. But with a 15 squad, you need at least minimum 25 to 30 people. Subs and all of those other things, people getting injured. So it's very difficult to have start up a league in Kuwait with 30 people. You mean you need to have at least 3 or 4 teams to have a league, or 4 to 6 teams to have a league, each one to have 30, personnel on them. It's very difficult. But now when you have a 7s tournament here, it becomes much easier. Each team having 15, it becomes manageable in the situation.
It's more fun to watch too. America have an amazing plan how they grew 7s rugby. When I was at university in America, very few people played rugby. Like my university was one of the best 7s rugby teams in the country. And now going from nobody knowing much about rugby there, they have one of the best 7s rugby teams in the world.
Wow.
Like they have the last 2 7s tournaments in Cape Town and in Dubai, they were in the finals in both. They lost in the finals, but to go from a team who were a laughingstock to now they're putting the pain on people like Fiji, South Africa.
They take
they're
it seriously.
Actually, from a point system, they're number one now. From a point system.
Because 7s, you don't have to be the most skilled and most knowledgeable. It's more about fitness and athleticism. So it's easier to get people fit and athletic and then teach them the skills later. So this is something I think we do want to focus on because it's more fun for the watcher. And it's easier to coach into people.
Says the forward guy.
Yeah, it says the fat forward guy. Runs like an old man. Yeah.
That's awesome, guys. It's been a pleasure having you guys on, and hopefully the sport grows, and whatever we can do here at the project to help you guys grow it, let us know. Like, seriously.
I think there's something we know we can do. I think we should come down to training.
Yeah, you've got to come out.
You've got to come out to training. We've got to come down and throw a ball around. I want to see you pass the ball.
Hey, it's like a flip this way or something. Like,
just like that.
It's sure as shit not this way. You know that, but
it always has to be a lateral. So the terminal. It has to be a lateral.
You run and it's like that way. So I get that, Pat. I get that.
I think everyone wants to see that. I think for our listeners, if we get that video,
I'm going to bring the camera. I'll bring the camera. All right. So everyone knows.
I think we need to lift him in the lineouts as well. See how he deals with that.
I want to see all of that. I'm coming for that. Sign me up.
If you guys would like, we have on the 11th, we have an inter squad, which is next Friday. We have an inter squad game. It's just going to be an inter squad game between us.
I'm in Bahrain, unfortunately.
Oh, man. All right.
If you guys want, it's like we said, it's a good atmosphere to bring the family and all of that, just to watch the game.
So for the listeners, that's next Friday, the 11th.
I'm only doing it if Liam's there.
Yeah. I'm only doing it. You won't be playing in that one.
Yeah. You can't just walk in and play, man.
What's your February schedule like? Because are you guys practicing in February? Because this episode actually might drop sometime in February, I'm assuming. It's definitely going to drop sometime in February, maybe towards the end.
Okay.
So you guys have a steady schedule on your Instagram? So in
February, we're going to have, I'll put the schedule up on Instagram. Okay, we always update it, but coming up, we have next weekend, it's going to be, obviously next week is not February, but we have the inter-squad, then the rugby certification. Then we have the flag rugby tournament in February. There's a possibility of a few more inter-squad games and also a military game, depending.
Okay.
The problem with those is we only know like a week or so before because of the nature of it. But we've been in touch with Arafjan, the US military, and they're looking within the next month or two.
Okay.
So hopefully in February, we'll probably be playing those guys. We have the flag tournament and then maybe another inter-squad.
Well, I think if we throw out a newsletter, if you guys send us your schedule for the rest of the year to like May or something, we can throw it in the newsletter.
Yeah,
Why
sure.
not? Definitely. And we'll maybe throw it up on Instagram. We got to check with like our marketing people.
Yeah.
So I think you've got to get out to training at least one session.
We will. We definitely will.
We'll
They had Rob out there. Rob was out there a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, Rob plays.
Yeah. He was out there a couple of weeks ago. He went to the flag thing. And I looked at him. I was like, dude, you're really playing rugby? He was like, yeah. I was like, what if you tore a hamstring or something? Dude, he's serious about his training. So it's like, yeah. I'm like, that's my fear. Going out there and, like pulling a hamstring or, like.
You should be more worried about getting knocked up.
Hey, man, I'll take you on any day of the week. Any day of the week. I'll scrum with you.
All right, okay.
Now you guys have to come just to see this.
Yeah. I think everyone wants
have
to
like
see
those pads in the States where you can like hold it up.
No pads, man. No pads. Not for you.
Well,
You are the pad, my friend. The tackle shield.
Well, on that note, thanks, guys. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thanks you
very
guys
much
to
for your
have
time.
us.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed it, please head over to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. You can also find us on Instagram at The Project Kuwait. Thank you, and join us next time.